Hey guys, I just wanted to jump on here and I wanted to make this video that I've actually been wanting to make for a while. Just talking about how I got into real estate. I know some of you that I'm friends with, some family members, and also just people who follow me on Instagram. I know we're connected, we talk and everything, but you don't really know my backstory of how I got into doing what I'm doing now, which is selling real estate in New York City. So let's just jump back a little bit. I'll give a little backstory and then just talk about how I got into it. So going back to college, or actually growing up, I grew up wanting to be an attorney. That changed my junior year in college. I studied abroad in London when I was in college, and that was my junior spring semester. And when I was there, I had an internship. And that internship had nothing to do with law. In college, I was actually taking classes that were more focused on law, kind of, just undergrad. I didn't go to law school, but for undergrad, I took courses that, like public policy, political science, stuff like that. But when I did this internship in London, it was a new experience for me. And I enjoyed it. So, I was thinking maybe I can do something that is different than being an attorney. Maybe I should look at some other things. So, my senior year, actually, before I went to London, I took a class, and it was a tough class, the toughest class I've actually taken. And I failed it. It was, economics. Wasn't the basic economics in college. It was one of the next levels up. Tough class, tough coursework, and I just failed it. So I had to make up that credit. Half of that credit I did piano lessons, which was something outside of my comfort zone. I wasn't an instrument player, but I did that for half of it. Then the other half, I was able to make it up by taking 2 internships. And one of those internships was real estate. It was real estate in Geneva, New York, at a company called Coldwell Banker. The guy who runs that office, actually knew him before I even thought about getting into there, and I reached out to him, and he was nice enough to let me, work with him. So I did that, and I enjoyed it. I wasn't doing work that a full-blown real estate agent would do, but just being exposed to that, sitting in on the meetings with them and going on the property tours with them, I liked it. So it was something in the back of my head. I didn't make up my mind at that time that I wanted to get into real estate, but I had more of an open mind about it. So the next thing that happened, in order to get into law school, you have to take the LSATs, the law SATs. And the prep work for it is intensive. It is crazy. I was studying for it like crazy. I had this thick textbook that I was working out of, and I did not like it. I hated it. I hated doing it. I hated preparing for it. I hated the questions and everything. But in my mind, I knew it was a means to an end. I had to get through this in order to be an attorney like I wanted to. So studied. The night before the LSATs, was it the night before? Yeah, it was the night before. I got sick. I was like, whatever, I'll get through this, take some medicine, I'll wake up the next day and I'll be fine. But then the next day when I woke up and I showered, I felt so awful. I was so sick. I had the flu. So of course I couldn't make it to the exam. And looking back now, it's a blessing in disguise, because if I would have taken it, I would have passed. I probably just would have went through the motions of going to law school and all that, but didn't take it. And after that, I thought to myself, you know what? Let me take a step back. Maybe I'll take a year off from, before going to law school after this, and do paralegal work or something, just something else, something different, to just really make sure that's what I want to do. So I applied to a few places in Rochester, New York, and I had a couple of interviews there. I don't remember the names of them, but they were, really good law firms. And one of them that I went to, the first one, they didn't accept me because they told me the paralegals that they hire, they want them to stay on. And for me, I didn't realize I knew what a paralegal was, but I didn't realize how important they are for an attorney. When you hire a paralegal, you want someone who's going to stay there for years and just be by your side to help you with all the work that you have to do. And for me, and I told them this in the interview, this is 1 year for me. Like, I want to do this for a year, and then I want to go to law school, and then I want to be an attorney. So this year of me being a paralegal is for me to get experience. So the first place, they didn't like that. They didn't want to take me because they want someone that's going to be there for a while. The second place, honestly, I don't remember what happened with that one, whether they offered me a position and I declined it, or if it was the same story. I don't remember that. But when those two didn't work out, I went back to thinking real estate. And I was born in New York City, but I was raised in Geneva, New York. And we had family here, so every time we came down to New York City and we walked around, I loved it, and just always knew I wanted to be down here. And I always saw the businessmen and getting driven around in their cars and everything, and I was just like, oh man, that is so cool. I want to be like that. So when I made the decision to look at doing real estate, I knew I wanted to do it in New York City. So, and I also heard about commercial real estate versus residential. So with residential, of course, most people know that is houses, apartments, selling. In Geneva, where I'm from, is mainly selling houses. I don't think we really have rental brokers, rental agents in Geneva, but really just residential sales agents who sell houses. But for here in New York City, you have residential agents who sell condos. They sell, apartments in high-rise buildings, low-rise co-ops. You rent apartments, both on the low end as little as like $1,000 a month, all the way up to I've seen, and actually my team has had rentals in the 40,000s, and I've seen them 60,000 and up. Like, it is crazy here. So that's residential. Now with commercial, you have also different sectors in commercial here. You have commercial agents who are leasing agents. They lease spaces. They lease off retail spaces and office spaces. And then you also have commercial agents who sell huge buildings, like the one I live in, skyscrapers that are like 100 million and up, or sometimes even in the billions. And then you have agents who are in the middle of that. They sell anything between like 1 million to 100 million, which is that middle market. And that is what I became interested in. I thought to myself, it'd be cool to sell big skyscrapers, but just like mentally, I wasn't ready for that. And being 22 years old, fresh out of college, I don't know if that's the best route to get into, is jumping right into trying to sell that. You got to build up a track record and build those relationships, and they take longer to sell. So if you don't have money saved up, then I wouldn't recommend that. But that $1 million to $100 million market, that is, I think, what most people start with when they get into commercial real estate in New York City. And I had looked at two firms before coming here. The first one was Marcus & Millichap, which is a big national company. They have a big presence in New York City, huge presence actually, for that middle market, $1 million to $100 million market. Where I didn't even explain this. So in that middle market, you mainly find a big variety of properties, but there's a lot of smaller apartment buildings that are 6 families, 8 families, 10 families, 10 units and up. And then you have industrial, like warehouses. You have some hotels, like more boutique hotels, not the really big ones. What else? The retail, like retail condos, and also standalone retail buildings. So those property types. Oh, and then mixed use, which is my favorite property type, where you have apartments and then you have a store on the ground floor. Those are my favorite. And apartment buildings. But that is what I want to focus on for a couple of reasons. One, it's different than residential in that you're working more on logic and numbers. Like it's a deal. It's really, it's not walking into a place, which now I do like that, but back then I didn't like that idea, and I'll get to that in a different video. But back then I liked the idea of the numbers. This is the deal. Here's the numbers. If they make sense, I'll buy it. If not, I'll pass. And also, it's not that straightforward, especially when I first got into it. What a lot of people looked at in a deal is, okay, here's the current numbers. Here's how I can add value and increase the return. And there are creative ways to do that. And that's what interested me. So that's why I chose to get into that market. So I applied to Marcus & Millichap was the one. And like I said, they have a big presence here in selling those kind of properties. And I applied to, back then it was called Massey Knackle. So my very first interview at a commercial real estate firm was at Massey Knackle. So I went there, and it was in the Queen's office. So I went to the Queen's office and I interviewed. It was an associate position, so I would be under a more experienced agent and helping them build their business while I gain experience and learn how to do it myself. So the other reason I wanted to do that, I wanted a paid position. When I graduated college, I didn't have a ton of money saved up. And always heard, before getting into this field, you want to have at least 6 months to a year of money saved up for your living expenses. And I didn't have that. To live in New York City for a year, not getting paid, just the thought of doing it, I couldn't. So I wanted to take the small salary, and that's what Massey Knackle offered. But that interview didn't work out. They actually wanted someone who spoke Mandarin, and I don't speak Mandarin. A little bit of Spanish, but no Mandarin. So that one didn't work out, which was fine. So I had got another interview set up, and this one was at Marcus & Millichap. Marcus & Millichap and Massey Knackle, they were big competitors. They were like the two big dogs in the city. Those were the companies that if you wanted to sell the kind of properties that I wanted to sell, you want to work at a big firm doing it, you would be at one of those two companies. So I went to Marcus & Millichap in the Manhattan office. I spoke with them there. My interview / meeting, whatever, the first one lasted 2 hours. I loved it. I felt so good going into the interview. It was the first interview that I had right in Manhattan. And being from a small town, even though I was born here, I wasn't raised here, being from a small town and then going into the city, into this office building, with just everyone, like you just feel the energy, you feel the success. It felt so good. And for me to spend 2 hours at the office, for everyone to take time out of their day to talk to me about their journey in commercial real estate and everything, and seeing the office, it was really nice. It was a great feeling. So I decided, like, this is what I want to do. And I was interviewing at Massey Knackle. That position was for an associate, to be under an agent. When I was at Marcus & Millichap, they talked me into just being an agent, like going right into it and joining someone who would be my mentor or a team. Like just jumping into it, no salary, just commission based and jumping right in. So they thought I'd be a good fit for it. And that made me feel good. I agreed, and I decided that's the route that I wanted to go with, even though I didn't have the money. But I just made up my mind. And after I interviewed in Manhattan, they had 2 other offices they wanted me to go to feel them out, get some more information, and see, make my final decision on where I wanted to be. So after Manhattan, I went up to White Plains, and just driving up there, I knew that wasn't where I wanted to be. It's not in New York City. It's, the suburbs, and walking into that office, I didn't get the same energetic feel as I did in Manhattan. So, right off the bat, I knew it's not for me. The guys there that I spoke to a couple of guys there. They were both really cool. One of them, I saw recently, and still keep in touch. So nothing against them. It's just not where I want to be. I wanted to be in New York City. So the next one was Brooklyn. So I went to Marks and Millichap in Brooklyn, and that's where I decided that I wanted to be. Before going down there, I have to back up a little bit. After I graduated college, and I made up my mind to get into real estate right away, I took the course. I knew that if I wanted to sell real estate, I had to be licensed no matter where I was in New York, whether I was in Geneva or New York City. That's pass the New York State exam and get licensed. So I took an online course. I actually found a pretty cheap program. I think I paid maybe a little over $200 for the course through realestateexpress.com, I think it was. And I took them right online. I had a summer job, and on my lunch breaks or on whatever breaks that I had, and then at night I would work on the course, and I loved the course. Like, the coursework, it interested me. So when I made the decision to join Marcus and Millichap, I was already done with the course. I just still had to take the test. So I started, and that was fine, because when I joined, I wasn't on the phone right away prospecting and going out showing stuff. Like, I had to actually start from ground zero and build up a database of contacts to reach out to, which you could do without being licensed. So during that time, So I started at Marks and Millichap October 2013, the end of October. I think it was Halloween weekend, like somewhere around Halloween that I started. And within a month of starting there, I took my exam. I passed the exam. I got my license parked under Marcus and Millichap, because you pass your real estate, let me just give the process of that. So to get your license, you first have to sign up for the course. You take the course, which is 75 hours. After you take the course, you take the school exam. So whatever course you signed up for, you have to take the test for that specific school that you took it through. Once you pass that test, you get a certificate from that school, and you present that to the state. And that allows you to take the state exam. That state exam is what you need to pass in order to get your license. Once you pass the state exam, you can't just go out and start selling real estate on your own. You actually have to park your license. You have to be sponsored by another firm, like a Coldwell Banker, like a Marks and Millichap, like any real estate firm. You have to be parked under a broker. So really, you're building your own business, but under the blanket of a company. So that's what it is. So I got my license parked under Marcus and Millichap, and that's how I got started. I want to talk about my experience getting started, but I think I'm going to save that. I'll do that in a separate video for you guys. But just my decision to become a real estate agent in the process, that's what I wanted to get on here first to talk to you guys about. I know I was a little bit, out of order, a little all over the place, but if you have any questions, If you're thinking about getting into real estate, reach out to me, and also just jump right in. Like when I made up my mind to do it, I didn't hesitate. Like I signed up for the course and I took the course. That's the first step. As soon as you do that, it's just finding a place to do it at. So like I said, in another video, I'm gonna talk to you guys about my experience getting started. Like I told you, I came down here with no money. I had a little bit of money, but not enough to last me for a year like they told me I should have. So I'll talk to you guys about that and the struggle that I went through, the grind, and just, the whole process of getting from there to the next step. So yeah, stay tuned for more. And if you have any questions or anything you want to talk about it, reach out to me.